So, big surprise here, media silence as France goes through one of the biggest protests since the French Revolution. Nobody's talking about it, so let's do that right here, huh? So, right now over in France, there are a lot of protests going on over labor laws. It looks like, and from what I'm trying to break down, I don't know much about France and their politics, but it looks like what they have is a French government and then they have parliament. And right now, the French government is being ridiculed for introducing a law that would make it so they could skirt around parliament. And it just sounds like here our president can get around Congress in a way that would make it so that new laws regarding laborers would make it so that it's easier to hire and fire, and they have less rights in like unionization or pay structure, and it's doing stuff like that. So right now, a lot of laborers who work in nuclear power plants or oil refineries are going on strike in protest of all this, which is leading to fuel shortages and aviation departure fiascos, all that to say, good for the people for creating a voice so loud it can't be ignored. I want to tell anybody over in France, kudos to you from any American, and if they say otherwise, they're stupid. I wish we here had your courage you have right now. I understand what's going around the world is happening everywhere. Like, we need to wake up and realize this isn't just a France problem. This isn't a Spain problem. This isn't an African problem. This isn't a Venezuelan problem. This is a world problem. We have a problem with governments growing in size, and something really interesting was pointed out to me that it almost seems with like the Trumps of the world, and then I did a video where I discussed how some in the Netherlands and then South America, I forget which countries, just try to stick along, but these people are electing people like Trump. And going through this discussion I recently had, we were talking about what if the plan is to put incompetent leaders in roles and make governments look so flawed that the people gather support to want a one world government, thinking that our local governments are inept. So basically saying we'd put all our trust in a global government, which would have way too much power for anyone's good. And in this discussion, I was like, well, I see how things could be heading there. I totally get that. With the manipulation that the higher-ups like to have, I mean, they control the media, they control all of our news, they control what we see, what we hear, what we eat. I mean, all of it. Like, they have this stuff ready to go. And when you think about it, I was like, well, how would the people not realize if that were the case and we were being corralled to support a one world government? Why wouldn't the people realize the problem is government? The problem's big government. When we choose to put a small few in charge of governing the masses, we see that it leads to corruption, deceit, betrayal, treason. I mean, we have war criminals acting as presidents, and this is no fucking revelation to anyone. We're seeing this with our eyes. You can claim to be ignorant, that you want to ignore the problem, but you're seeing it right in front of your face. So to deny any leader of America as being deceitful or corrupt, you're just fooling yourself, because it's been in our face for how many generations? I mean, we've had TV blasting these messages across the nation for how long now? And now that we have it online, we can go back and see there was an agenda there. So all I'm saying is, well, yes, send support to France to make sure that these protesters' voices are heard, because these are the people giving up time with their loved ones, spending their life in these awful positions, these jobs that pay them minimally, and now it's being thrown in their face that the higher-ups feel like they're being treated too well. Like, this is insanity, so we need to, as the people of the world, stand up and be heard. And France is, doing a good thing. We had Spain doing a good thing. Barcelona went nutso just a couple of years back, and they probably still are, but everything is so censored. We here in America don't hear what's going on with you. I mean, if you're in Russia and China, I have no idea. No idea. I mean, your shit's just blocked from here, and I hope you know that. Like, anybody who claims What would that be? Like, if you're like, I'm a fucking American, anybody else can suck a D. Like, if you're that person, so patriotic. We've seen time and time again higher ups use the manipulation through division and fear to keep people apart and afraid to talk, because communication is what unites us and gets us a stronger message, gets us more voices on our side, and then they can't drown us out. I mean, seriously, the numbers are on our side. But the more we sit back and allow this shit to continue, we're losing numbers daily. So, I mean, I was just thinking the other day, I sit here in my cozy little city here in America where there aren't bombs going off 24/7, or we aren't exactly in fear of not having food the next day. I mean, it's rampant in this country, don't get me wrong, but we turn blind eyes to shit so easily in this country. We think things are so prosperous here, and they're really not. There are slums here in America. It's disgusting here. But you get in those mindsets, but then you take yourself out of it and realize, wow, you don't see the insane damage that happens daily in the rainforest. Like, something like 400 acres of rainforest are lost every day. That could be completely false, but just look into it. Me saying that gets you thinking, right? I'm just saying, like, we don't think of that devastation. We don't think of what Apple, the largest global company existing right now, which terrifies me, and my boyfriend and I fight on that all the time because he loves Apple, and I'm like, no, too big for my feeling safe with that. Like, honestly, when a corporation is treated better than people, and when they get more of a voice than people, like, when you start to see Facebook and Coca-Cola and Apple show up on, like, G8 summits, and UN like posters saying funded by Facebook, Google, and like, what? Do you understand what the UN's policy, like what they're working, world policy? That's what they're working on, and these corporations have a voice. When's the last time you were at a UN meeting? I mean, you don't have a voice. You aren't heard by the UN. What are they deciding? Why is Facebook and Google deciding what's good for humanity? That's sick, especially when we find out, like, FBI and the CIA works with FBI to monitor and track how they can affect your moods, what they can filter into your news feeds. I mean, this stuff is real. It's all just privacy invasion and manipulation, and you're being used without you even knowing it. Like the article I found on the anti-media website that discusses this. I mean, seriously, this is an issue that isn't on major media outlets. How are we not talking about this? How is CNN and MSNBC and all that shit? It should be flashing by their screens nonstop today and throughout. Like, this should be taking up time, but I guarantee you'll flip over there and you'll see something about the Kardashians, and it's just mindlessness. That's your daily life, and that's sad for you. I do think that the more you pull out and realize, holy shit, I didn't understand reality. I didn't understand what it meant to be consciously aware. Right? Then you start to realize how disconnected you are and how involved in your own ego you were. And that's a huge, huge part that plays in the manipulation that society has over you, ruling you in fear. Fear keeps you going. Fear keeps you in your job, your 9 to 5, because you're worried you can't buy food and you can't buy shelter without it, right? Even though the stuff to produce food and shelter would still be here without money. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? That's never a conversation. Weird. We could take care of each other as well as we do, if not better, if we took money out of the system. Everybody's screaming money because rich people are scared that, and middle class people, y'all fucking retarded, scared that if we help the poor, it's going to take away money from the middle class. No, it'll give you more. And people worried about if we don't help the rich, it won't trickle down. Are you fucking stupid? Trickle down economics was introduced by some dumbass Rockefeller who is laughing right now. I mean, y'all, just stupidity. Did you know the UN was founded by the Rockefellers? I mean, we don't know shit about shit. The UN isn't our friend. It isn't. Anybody who... Emma Watson, lost respect for her when she went to be the women's ambassador for the UN. She has to know by now what she got herself into. I'm pretty sure prior to doing that she did. People need to be more aware. If we want to have control, don't funnel into the control systems that are already in place. Make new ones. Like, if you want to be a leader and have a voice, create a new outlet for people to voice their frustrations with what is currently going on. That's the only way. You need something untainted. Because when we sit and think about all of this stuff that is going on, everything has been tainted by us. Like, humanity is perpetuating our own unnecessary obsolescence. And we've been doing it for how many generations now, creating these technologies that can do human work for less time. They don't take as much resources to do it. It's like, how did it not click in the human brain that once these technologies were created and then they can do jobs, menial jobs that people don't want to have to do, especially for minimum wage, hand them over to technology. The fact that tech can run factories, build cars, do all of that manual labor, take those jobs out of the hands of people. What we stop at is, oh my god, then we're going to lose all these jobs. No, you create new jobs, because then you start creating jobs people want to do and they thrive in, because they're not, mules carting shit back and forth, or they're not rats just in a cage doing some mindless activity to make sure the boss is happy. That's not what's happening. It's people getting outside into nature or into the land, gardening and building homes and shelter for people who need it. It's doing stuff that activates more consciousness going forward rather than remaining stagnant. I mean, we really are an obsolete species. We are being taken over by technology. We're not needed. It's already very aware that it, like with Agenda 21, something documented, something world leaders talk about. Look up these world like there's a lady in Australia that I'm not sure if she's prime minister or something, incredible, speaking out against Agenda 21. She's very adamant that this not be something perpetuated by us, the masses, just because we're ignorant. She's like, wake up. People have a plan. People are steering societies into a direction. These RFID chips or whatever, the fact that they want to put these in humans, the fact that humans are willing to do it for safety reasons, come the fuck on. You were so safe when you weren't being monitored by your government. You have no idea. I mean, seriously, it's really sad. It's just sad to see how all of this is related, and how, people give interviews who were insiders and knew elite families, but now they're dead. Independent journalists are now dead, and yet we don't talk. We think it's really cool when somebody like Dave Chappelle gets on stage, or Cat Williams, and they speak out against this, the whole Illuminati or the elite, whatever you want to call them. But somebody being in control, somebody with trillions of dollars, I don't even think we know how to compute that in our mind. With that much money, that much resources, that much power, you don't have a hurdle in your way. So when you're in your mind telling yourself, okay, we want to depopulate in order to make sure Earth sustains, right? Because these people are sharing Earth with us. What do? You force people into protest. That's what's happening worldwide. People are being forced into protest because then it's going to be easier for governments to say, okay, now we cannot allow this for your safety. We cannot allow you to have weapons for your safety. We cannot allow you to protest for your safety. It's what happens. I mean, we're being manipulated, and people just need to wake up. Look up these articles on these French protests, because they're really insane. Like, it's really cool that this many people are gathering to show that they do not want to be controlled. They do not want to just abide by authority. It's really cool that this is happening, and I think we here in America really need to start paying attention. I know there's been influxes where we do. There's times where we do. I know Occupy Wall Street it garnered attention here. My main criticism was I was confused by it. It didn't seem to have a logical message. I wish it would have just been geared at taking out the Federal Reserve. I wish, plain and simple, one message: take out the Fed. And I feel like it had so many people were going to Occupy Wall Street and they didn't know what they were doing. And now I'm, being 6 years older from when that started, I am more aware that opposition to any movement is going to send people in to infiltrate, and they're usually the ones that start riots. Like in the Ferguson, I guarantee you those people who went down there and started riots were there to provoke. I mean, they're there to instigate fear and hate, because that stuff makes it so the message is no longer heard. It's drowned out, especially to racist white people. I mean, I live in the North. Never understood why it was called the Midwest, but I lived up in the North in Minnesota while a lot of that shit was happening, and a lot of white people were like, fucking black people sitting in the streets taking up my time, I can't get to work. And I'm like, you're so worried about getting to your nail appointment and your job that pays you $8 an hour, mind you, because you're poor. You're so worried about that, and you're going to complain about all of these situations when we're watching black people fight for the right to be heard because their brothers and sisters are being shot in the street by your people, And you have the audacity to complain you can't get to work? Like, this is really where I started to feel black people on this movement. I was like, I can't sit by and watch people I share a skin color with talk about how it's more important for them to be able to ignore something going on in their own country rather than deal with it because it hurts them or makes them feel unsafe. Yeah, it makes you feel unsafe, but do you understand how black people feel? I mean, my God, all of this to say, people of France, America supports you. Americans support you. Some just don't get it yet. And I promise you, there is a large group of people here that will continue to fight with the other people around the world for justice and freedom for all. I mean, this is a big deal. We need liberty for all. We need justice for all. I mean, those are really important messages on the Constitution, and we've talked many in these videos of the past how we aren't even operating under the Constitution. So if you're sitting here in America being like land of the free, home of the brave, because you can have a Budweiser and walk around with your firearms, just know Budweiser is actually made in Belgium, and your firearms are being taken away as we speak. So you ain't that cool just because you're American, and realize that we're human. Okay? Don't label yourself with religion. Don't label yourself with geopolitical land. Like, who cares where you're born in? Listen to Angel Hayes as she talks about, I don't identify with that shit. I am not a white man just because my skin is white. I don't portray the horrible, moral, and ethically bankrupt personalities that many white people have. I don't believe that because I have white skin I'm better than anyone else. I don't believe that if you make more money that's classism. I don't believe because I'm young and speaking out I'm better than someone who's older and speaking out. That's ageism. I'm not better for anything. I'm a human being experiencing my reality through my perspective, and that is all that is different about me. I am just like you. We both contain blood, semen, and saliva, motherfucker. Like, you're no different. You're no different. I don't care if you're Obama. I don't care if you're homeless living in Cali on Skid Row. Which, goddamn, I want to do a video on Skid Row. That place just is sad, man. And we don't do anything. I live in Portland, and this shit is fucked. You walk down the street, homeless people, it's just insane. It's multiplying daily. Like, you just walk outside, and it's insane, and nobody does anything. We turn our eyes, and I'm constantly saying this breaks my heart. It breaks my heart to walk by a homeless person and not be able to do anything. I have no fucking money to give. I barely have food to sustain my own life, but that's also by choice. I am choosing to live a minimalistic lifestyle to understand I'm living with way too much luxury, and I've never had luxury. I grew up poor, I'm still poor, but I've had more luxury than most of the world, and I'm aware of this just because of where I was born and just because of the color of my skin. It's privilege, and that's all it is, and everybody's experiencing a different degree of it, whether you're experiencing the end of not having it or of having it. We're experiencing this together. We're all brothers and sisters taking care of each other or lack thereof, and we just need to get better about being conscious that this is happening. Take 5 minutes out of your day and have a conversation with somebody. Stop and talk to your barista at your coffee shop. Stop on the sidewalk and talk to a homeless person. They will drill your brain full of knowledge that you'll learn more from a homeless person than you will learn at school. I guarantee you. I stand full-heartedly behind that. I have learned more from just conversations with homeless than I did in all 12 years of my elementary, middle, and high school and my college experience. There's nothing that will compare to human experience and enduring that heartbreak you feel when somebody cries in front of you because they don't know if they can eat. Scary. Anyway, I want to leave this video like this. It's just a raw representation of the world falling apart. I mean, France is a good example. Google it. It's sad. I mean, we're not being heard, and 400,000 people are marching in France. It's insane. There's another march coming up. I believe it said June 15th. Look into it. If you're going to be over in France, check it out. I mean, worth getting ready for. It's happening everywhere. Anyway, not to scare everybody, this is empowering knowledge. This is showing you that people around the world are with you. And we feel you, we hear you, we understand the struggle because it's real. Am I right? Can I get a amen? Okay, take care of yourself today. Thank God it's Thursday. Okay? All right? Peace.